The last video ended at the spectacular stone ruins of Nan Madol and Khosrae, located respectively on the islands of Pohnpei and Khosrae, in the Caroline Islands of the Federated States of Micronesia. My name is Michelle Gibson. The starting place for this video is Ongtong Java Atoll, also known as Luang Jawa and as Lord Howe Atoll. It is one of the world's largest atolls, if not the largest, and the northernmost point of the Solomon Islands. The roughly boot-shaped Ongtong Java Atoll is spread over 122 small, low-lying coral islands and has a population of approximately 2,000 people that live primarily in the villages of Luang Jawa on the eastern end and Pilau in the northeastern part of the atoll. These islanders are considered Polynesian by academia as opposed to Melanesian, which they do most of the rest of the Solomon Islands. The Ongtong Java Atoll is one of the areas in Melanesia which are called Polynesian outliers. It is considered one of the most vulnerable places in the Solomon Islands with regards to rising oceans. The islands of the Ongtong Java Atoll are described as seamounts, punctuating the otherwise smooth surface of the Ongtong Java Plateau, which is described as a flood basalt feature. This sounds like a cover-up code word to me, so I will dig deeper. This is the definition of a flood basalt feature: the result of a giant eruption or series of eruptions that covers large stretches of land or the ocean floor with lava. Basalt itself is described as a common extrusive igneous rock formed from the rapid cooling of basaltic lava exposed or very near the surface of the planet. This is an aerial view of the Ongtong Java Plateau, with the atoll to the left of the red arrows. The shape of the plateau under the water sure looks geometrically angled to me. In the last video, I pointed out that the Lincoln log-style buildings found on the islands of Pohnpei and Khosrae are made from millions of tons of prismatic basalt columns. On the top is a picture of the Deccan Traps of India, which are called flood basalt features, and what is called the characteristic stair-step morphology of many associated landscapes. So I compared it on the bottom with a photo of the Drakensberg Mountains in South Africa with the same stair-step morphology present. Here's what the Deccan Plateau looks like in the same region of India on the top, which looks a lot like Mount Kajay on the bottom, an island feature in Lake Hamoun in Iran, which is described as a flat-topped black basalt hill. This is one of the many ways this is hidden from us, right in front of our eyes. Call it by another name, and don't give out any information you don't want anyone to know. And yes, I think this has been done deliberately to keep the advanced ancient civilization from our awareness. Well, Michelle, you might ask, what if this is a reasonable geologic explanation for these features? I might answer by saying, well, could be. But I have come across things like this in my research. This is Teotihuacan outside of Mexico City before excavations began in 1905. And this is what Teotihuacan looks like today. This whole region of the Pacific Ocean would have been the location of the continent of Mu, or Lemuria, which was destroyed by a cataclysm at some point in time. So the possibility or probability of still existing and/or submerged Lemurian infrastructure is high. Moving on to the main part of the Solomon Islands, we come to the capital of these islands, Honiara, located on the northwest coast of the island of Guadalcanal. The Solomon Islands are part of the region of Oceania, known as Melanesia, which is differentiated from the peoples and cultures of Polynesia and Micronesia in this historical narrative we've been given. The Solomon Islanders are uniquely regarded for having a high occurrence of blonde hair and blue eyes, providing living proof that these are not racially exclusive traits as we have been led to believe. There is an identification of people from this whole region of Oceania with the Hebrew tribe of Naphtali, one of the lost tribes of Israel. And what about the name of Solomon for these islands? I firmly believe the memory of the people is retained in place names all over the world, and not a random or haphazard process of naming. Other points of note before moving on. First, the form of government of the sovereign state of the Solomon Islands is a constitutional monarchy with the Queen of England as its head of state, and Solomon Islanders as its chief elected officials and members of parliament. The other thing is that the World War II Battle of Guadalcanal was fought on this island, including the Battle of Henderson Field, which is just a short distance east of Honiara, in August of 1942. This was between the Japanese and the United States Armed Forces. The result of all the battles was an Allied victory when the Japanese conceded defeat. Regardless, this is just another example of warfare taking place on planetary grid lines, as I have been sharing throughout my videos. And when you do an internet search for Guadalcanal, this World War II military campaign dominates what comes up for information for the island. Next on the alignment, we come to one of the Solomon Islands known as Rennell Island, which is also considered a Polynesian outlier in Melanesia. It is considered one of the largest raised coral atolls in the world, if not the largest. The definition of a raised coral atoll is an atoll that has been lifted high enough above sea level, which is attributed to tectonic forces, to protect it from storms and erosion. This protected ecosystem is believed to be what has allowed unusual biodiversity at places like Rennell Island, which is home to some unique species, like the Rennell starling and a bat species called the Rennell flying fox. Lake Togano covers almost the entire area of the island's southern tail end. Literally, it looks like a fishtail on the map of Rennell Island that was shown previously, and it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This was also the site of the last major naval battle of the Guadalcanal campaign, known in history as the Battle of Rennell Island, and took place in January of 1943. In this battle, the Japanese Navy, in its efforts to evacuate Japanese forces from Guadalcanal, torpedoed the USS Chicago and sank it, which is one of the Navy's heavy cruisers, and damaged the USS La Valette, a naval destroyer ship. As a result of this battle, the United States Navy pulled back from this area, and the Japanese finished their evacuation of Guadalcanal. I'm going to end this video here and pick up the alignment in Brisbane, Australia, in the next part of the series.